William had seen many things in his 17 years fighting across the contested rim, but he'd never seen fear quite like what flickered across the VRIN commander's face when Maya stepped into the detention facility. She didn't announce herself. She didn't need to. The overhead lights hummed and flickered as she crossed the threshold, her boots clicking softly against the polished metal floor. To anyone else, she might have looked like just another human, small, fragile, unremarkable. William knew better. He'd served with her on 3 different campaigns, watched her turn the tide of battles that should have been massacres, seen her do things that made hardened soldiers weep. The VRIN guards tensed immediately, their chitinous armor plates shifting as they raised their plasma rifles. There were 12 of them scattered throughout the main chamber, each standing over 7 feet tall, their mandibles clicking in their species' approximation of nervous communication. Maya's eyes swept the room with the cold efficiency of a predator cataloging prey. When her gaze finally settled on William, who stood near the central console pretending to review prisoner manifests, something almost human flickered in her expression. She moved closer, navigating between the holding cells with their shimmering force fields. Inside those cells, dozens of species watched with varying degrees of curiosity and terror. This facility held political prisoners, ransom captives, leverage against the human expansion into VRIN space. "I came for my daughter," she whispered, close enough now that only William could hear. William's blood ran cold. He hadn't known Maya had a daughter. In all their time together, she'd never mentioned family, never spoken of anything beyond the mission. But looking at her now, seeing the tremor in her hands that she couldn't quite suppress, the way her jaw clenched with barely contained emotion, he understood that whatever protocols existed, whatever diplomatic channels should be followed, none of it mattered. He glanced at the VRIN guards who were now converging toward them, weapons trained. Behind him, he could hear the facility's automated defense systems powering up, the low whine of plasma capacitors charging. The VRIN weren't fools. They recognized a threat when they saw one. The commander stepped forward, his translation device crackling to life. "Human female, you are trespassing in a VRIN sovereignty facility. Surrender immediately or—" William turned to face the aliens, positioning himself between them and Maya. He met the commander's compound eyes with a steady gaze, then spoke a single word that would either save lives or condemn them all. "Run!" The VRIN commander's mandibles clicked in what might have been laughter. "You dare!" "I'm not threatening you," William interrupted, his voice calm, almost gentle. "I'm giving you a chance. You don't know what she is, what she can do." Behind him, Maya had already begun moving. William felt the air pressure change, felt the subtle shift in gravity that always preceded her awakening. The humans had discovered it 3 years ago, buried in the genetic code of less than 1% of their population, a gift from some ancient ancestor or perhaps some cosmic accident. They called them resonance. Maya was the strongest one they'd ever found. The lights exploded outward in a shower of sparks. In the sudden darkness, William activated his tactical visor, switching to infrared. What he saw made his breath catch in his throat. Maya stood at the center of the chamber, her arms spread wide, and reality itself seemed to bend around her. The force fields containing the prisoners flickered and died. The VRIN guards stumbled backward, their weapons suddenly dead weight in their hands as every electronic system within 50 meters simply ceased to function. But that wasn't what frightened them. It wasn't even close. William watched as Maya's consciousness expanded outward like a living wave, invisible to most but blazing like a supernova in his enhanced vision. It touched each mind in the facility, human, VRIN, and the dozen other species held captive, and in that touch was an offer and a warning. The prisoners felt hope. The guards felt terror. One of the VRIN fired anyway, his weapon somehow still functional, perhaps shielded by redundant systems. The plasma bolt screamed toward Maya's head at relativistic speeds. She caught it. William had seen her do it before, but it never got less impressive. Her hand snapped up, and the plasma bolt simply stopped, suspended in the air like a frozen star, its light casting eerie shadows across her face. She studied it for a moment, then closed her fist. The energy dispersed harmlessly into the air as heat. "My daughter," Maya said, her voice echoing with something more than sound, carrying weight and presence that made the metal walls vibrate. "Where is she?" The VRIN commander was backing toward the emergency exit now, his earlier bravado evaporating. "Cell block 7, he stammered. "Human juvenile, age 6 standard years. We were told she was a bargaining chip," Maya finished. Her eyes blazed with something William had never seen before. Rage filtered through the absolute certainty that nothing in this universe could stop her. "You took a child. My child." William activated his calm. "Maya, listen to me. We can get her out. We can do this quietly. Don't." But it was too late. Maya moved, and when a resonant truly moved, physics became a suggestion rather than a law. One moment she stood in the center of the chamber. The next, she was everywhere and nowhere. The VRIN guards scattered like leaves before a hurricane. Doors that should have been sealed ripped from their housings. Walls designed to withstand ship-grade weapons buckled like paper. William ran after her, knowing it was futile, knowing she was already 3 corridors ahead. Behind him, he could hear the prisoners fleeing, taking advantage of the chaos. Let them, he thought. They deserved freedom more than the VRIN deserved their captives. He found her in cell block 7, kneeling on the floor amid the wreckage of a dozen security systems, cradling a small figure in her arms. The girl, and she was so small, so impossibly fragile-looking, had her mother's dark hair and sharp features. She was crying, but softly, the kind of careful, controlled crying of a child who had learned that loud noises brought punishment. "It's okay, baby," Maya whispered, her voice breaking. "Mommy's here. Mommy's got you." William approached slowly, hands visible, non-threatening. "Maya, we need to leave. Now. The VRIN will have already called for reinforcements." She looked up at him, and for the first time since he'd known her, Maya looked vulnerable. Tears streamed down her face, cutting tracks through the grime and blood spatter. "They took her from school, William, from Earth, while I was fighting their war 3 systems away. They took my daughter and told me to stand down or they'd—" She couldn't finish the sentence. "I know," William said gently. He activated his extraction beacon. "But she's safe now. You got her back, that's what matters." The facility's alarm systems, the ones Maya hadn't destroyed in her rampage, began blaring. Somewhere above them, William could hear the distinctive whine of VRIN dropships approaching. Maya stood, her daughter held securely against her chest. The girl had stopped crying, her small arms wrapped tightly around her mother's neck. "They'll come for us," Maya said. "For her, to punish me for this." "Let them come," William replied. He checked his sidearm, then looked at her with a grim smile. "You're not the only human who's tired of playing by their rules." As they made their way back through the devastated facility, stepping over unconscious guards and around shattered equipment, William activated his command channel. "This is Captain William Drake to all human forces in the sector. We have a retrieval situation. Subject is a human child, age 6, taken from Earth space in violation of about 15 different treaties. I'm declaring this a sanctioned rescue under the Prometheus Protocols." The Prometheus Protocols had never been officially activated. They were the humanity's final line, a declaration that their people, their children, were untouchable, that taking them meant war. Maya glanced at him, surprise flickering across her features. "You're burning your career for this." "No," William said, as their extraction ship breached the facility's roof in a shower of debris and screaming metal. "I'm doing what should have been done the moment they touched her. They wanted to see what humanity does when you threaten our children." He helped her up into the ship's loading bay, then turned back to look at the approaching VRIN forces. Now they know. We don't negotiate. We don't compromise. We come for our own, and heaven help anyone standing in our way. As the ship lifted off, leaving the burning facility behind, Maya held her daughter close and whispered something William couldn't hear. But he saw the girl's response, a small smile, the first she'd probably managed in weeks. Sometimes, William thought, humanity's greatest strength wasn't their resonance or their technology or their tactical brilliance. It was the simple, terrifying fact that they would burn down the galaxy itself for the people they loved. And they had just shown the Viren exactly what that looked like.